it's a very beautiful morning, and many thanks for joining us on our program on television this morning on ITV. Good enough, today is Wednesday, the 12th day of December 2018, and so good to know that we're in the Christmas period already, and great preparations for the festive period, the festive season, and you know that the Benin people also have their festivity this period. Talking about the Benin Kingdom, talking about the Igwe Festival. Well, this year we understand it's just about 2 days from now, to be precise, on the 14th, on the 15th, we have the commencement of the 2018 Igwe Festival. So we're using this opportunity to say a very big kudos to all Benin daughters and sons out there, indigenous of Benin, indigenous of Edo Kingdom, as they celebrate for the Igwe Festival. But most importantly, I think we should also bring to mind that it is this period that we have fire outbreak. So we are using this opportunity to talk to ourselves, talk to you, and also talk to ourselves, talk to everybody, so that we have to be very, very careful with the way we go about, you know, doing things. Take, for example, you smoke, with the way you throw away the remaining parts of your cigarettes, or maybe you are a farmer, you are going to the farm, and you discover that you just do things, you take your matchbox, or you scratch your match, and you know, dispel it anyhow. So you really have to be very careful this period, because any little thing, definitely you are going to have outbreak of fire this period. It will amaze you, and of course it will also interest you to know that more than 80% of fire outbreaks that is being recorded, especially in this part of the country, it's recorded during this time of the year. That's the Harmattan season. It's normally between October and you know, January of every year. Well, to discuss this morning, sensitization against fire outbreak during the Harmattan, we are so privileged to have Mr. Franklin Agbolaho, who is the Director of Edo State Fire Service. So you're welcome to this program this morning on ITV. Yeah, it's quite seasonal for us to have you here on this program. Yeah, this time of the year we always have you. But let us begin, you know, as we begin to sensitize our viewers this morning, during this period. Where do you think we can really start from when we talk about fire outbreak during the Harmattan period?
Thank you so much. Fire outbreak during the Harmattan season is not peculiar to one place. It's everywhere. But the first thing we must consider is our behavioral attitude. In our homes, offices, or wherever we dwell, it is very, very paramount that we be safety conscious during this period. Because the weather, as I have said, is hazy, it's completely dry. So for every combustible material, we must be conscious of whatever.
What do you mean by combustible materials now? Let's break it down.
Yes,
okay.
Material that can burn so easily when having contact with naked lights. Will be by convection, radiation. So we must be very, very careful. In our homes, we have a lot of electrical installations. We must not be left unattended to. As we are living our homes, we must try as much as possible to make sure we isolate these electrical appliances. Most recently, there was a building that was on fire as a result of an air conditioner left working. An air conditioner can work for a very long period, but when there is an electrical defect, it's bound to go on fire. And I think that is what exactly happened. So our electrical appliances must be installed by professionals, qualified artisans who can do this, and we are rest assured that everything is in order.
Okay.
Let us not use quartz in our electrical installations, substandard materials. These are things we must always look at.
All right, let's quickly take a short pause now so that we'll just continue on the other side. Please stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, thank you so much. The program is still on here, and Mr. Franklin Agbolaho, the Edo State Director of Fire Service, stay here with us. Now, we're looking at combustible materials.
Yes.
Things we should be mindful of this period. Please go on.
As I have said earlier, we must be very, very careful about whatever we do during this period. We must be completely safety conscious of our homes, environment where we dwell, and what we do at this material time. We must avoid naked lights and sparks where there are highly flammable materials. In our offices, we must try as much as possible to isolate all sorts of electrical appliances. At the closure of the day, we must try as much as possible to make sure there is reasonably plenty of water within the premises. Peradventure, there is an outbreak of fire. We must try as much as possible to have a communal effort before the arrival of the fire services. And again, we must have risk suppression gadgets in place that are completely valid. When there's an outbreak of fire, these are materials you can use as quickly as possible to suppress the escalation. We must have it at the back of our mind this period that rate of spread of fire is very, very fast. And that is why we must have a proper housekeeping in our environments.
Okay.
We must try as much as possible, clear within the premises where we dwell to the barest minimum 5 feet from the perimeter fence. Outside the fence, you clear 5 feet. It creates a fire stop when there's any fire outbreak as a result of bush burning, indiscriminate bush burning. This will help us to curtail the rate of spread. And then we must try as much as possible, lock our windows while we are leaving our homes, because fire sparks can completely come into these, through these places into our homes, and then source of fire cannot be ascertained when there's an outbreak. So when the windows are completely locked, fire sparks cannot have access to our homes. And then in our kitchens, we must try as much as possible to make sure we have proper housekeeping, thorough cleanliness, because whatever we use as cooking utensils are always having deposit of oil within the periphery of where we do our cooking. We must make sure we clean these places very well. One, it is dangerous when there's an outbreak of fire, the place becomes slippery. Two, we must try as much as possible to make sure these things are cleaned, because it will support the rate of spread of fire. So these are things we must try as much as possible to make sure we can take into cognizance this period. We must not leave our cooking utensils left unattended to. Don't see off visitors while you are doing cooking. And please don't have a divided attention as a result of television programs, Telemundo, whatever we have in our televisions. We will forget that we are cooking. And lastly, we must try as much as possible. Don't smoke while in bed. Okay.
Let me, there's no doubt that you have spoken well. You are a firefighter.
Yes.
And, but one thing that we must talk about is that it appears that we don't see more of your sensitization. Say so jingles, say
yes.
Programs, symposium, workshops, so to say now, to sensitize citizens.
People. Thank you so much. If I was not here today, would not be privileged to have me.
But I invited you.
That's it. So if you have invited me and have come, we will do the same sensitization. ITV have been doing things this time without number, and we have always obliged to come and make sure we sensitize our people. We go to different establishments too to carry out inspections, and as a result, we do sensitization equally to make sure people are conscious of whatever they do in their establishment. We look at installations of electrical gadgets, combustible materials in place. We advise that offices should be decongested of combustible materials, because when there's an outbreak of fire, the rate of surface spread will be very, very fast. These we do, and in a lot of places, we try as much as possible to recommend. Up to our hotels, we look at exit points, we consider them and look at the locations they are, exit points and entry points, and the risk suppression gadgets in place. There are places we recommend that smoke detectors should be positioned, because if you place a smoke detector in the kitchen, you are bound to have always false alarm as a result of smoke emitting from whatever we are doing. So we are by this advising that smoke detectors should be placed in a lawn leading to our kitchens and our rooms, because most times in hotels we have smokers, and when they smoke and you have a smoke detector right in the room, there's bound to be an alarm. We raise the false alarm, and that creates panicking in the hotel. So we do all this to make sure people are in place and their life are safe and properties equally.
Okay. Now, from all that you have said now, this can only be done in the urban centers,
Yes,
smoke detectors
yes,
and all that.
Yes.
Now, let's take our discussions to the rural settings,
yes.
where we have our farmers. Now, anywhere from now, the farmers are going to go back to the farm. you know, to brush, clear the bushes, so to say, and of course, set fires and all that. Now, how these people, are they being carried along? Because most times we hear of fire outbreak that run through expanse of bushes,
Yes.
destroy
Yes.
crops,
Yes.
farm produce and all that. Are we sensitizing them? Are we carrying
By
them
the
along?
special grace of God, we do. There are times we meet with heads of traditional rulers and talk with the people to make sure they are safety conscious. All we do within this period is to advise that those homes and buildings should be properly cleared around. Create a fire stop within your environment. So because we know indiscriminate bush burning is going to take place, when farmers are clearing, they always create a fire stop within the areas they are going to make their farms.
Now, what do you mean by fire stop?
A fire stop is a perfect cut to the barest minimum.
Okay, to the ground.
To the ground, so that when there is an outbreak of fire, or when there is a portion of land set on fire, this is a guide to make sure it doesn't go beyond that level.
Okay.
And it is properly supervised by farmers.
Okay, what you are saying is that if you have a kind of a measurement of a piece of land, you have to clear around
exactly
the boundaries.
Yes,
you know,
to make sure when you set it on fire, it doesn't go beyond that level. Definitely, sometimes it goes beyond because the spark goes into the bush, and then it becomes an indiscriminate bush burning because it's already out of proportionate environment where it is designed to burn. All we need to do is to have some quantity of water. That is why I said we must always try as much as possible. These farmers, they have bush baths. When we say fire baths, you can use live leaves to make sure you stop this fire spreading. You get what I'm saying? You beat these flames and it goes down equally. This the farmers do. But the indiscriminate bush burning is done by children, some set of miscreants who go into the bush because of rodents. They just set bush ablaze. And at the end of the day, it's uncontrolled. Once it's out of control, it becomes a problem. And that is where every environment, every community must try as much as possible to have a vigilante within this period. Homes should not just be left completely unattended to. At least there should be some group of persons in the community. Everybody cannot go to farm at the same time. This will give a guide, and when there is an outbreak of fire, communally they should be able to submerge the fire, going beyond their control, while you now call the fire services. Depends on the distance, and that is why we are clamoring for decentralization of fire stations in these local governments. If we have fire stations in these areas and they are functional, definitely they should be able to attend to distress situations at that level.
Okay, our kids are at home now. I mean, it's the Christmas holiday period. You talked about things we do. At times, parents, they are really not the cause of these things. The children, they play with the match, they scratch the match, and you know, all sort of things. Now, do you sensitize the children too?
Completely, we go to schools.
Are there programs?
There are excursions to my office where we talk with these children, do pep talk, and make sure they know the do's and don'ts. They know the difference between toys and items that are not used as toys. So in homes, we always tell parents to make sure, tell the children and talk to them that matches is not meant for children. It's meant for the grown-up ones. Because children believe in examples which you give to them. If you tell them, if you have this thing, this sort of item, take it to your senior ones, they will do as specified. So this we are saying, if you look at a matchbox, it's always inscribed, keep out of the reach of children. And if we now have this belief, I always tell people naked light should not be in our homes. And how do we do that? It's when you make these children conscious of what they are supposed to do. Children love flames. The color they see will always draw their attention, let us do this. And when they have access to this matchbox, they can spark it and throw it at each other. And if it falls into a sofa, in the next 5 minutes we are going to have an outbreak. So we always tell the children that matchboxes are not toys. It's meant for the grown-up ones. And at this point, I want to advise homes and families that children should not go close to burners. Parents who are sometimes wanting the toddlers to go and light up a gas cooker is not advisable. Because if the matchbox is not available or it's not automatic, he or she goes in there, ignite these burners, and at the same time going back to scarce for a matchbox. There's already a flaring of the gas, and the fume will always occupy the environment where that burner is. And the child will come back and have a spark. What we are going to get is an explosive sound. And at this point, the child will be engulfed instantly with that gas. So it is dangerous. I will always advise that grown-up ones should attend to these cooking utensils, not toddlers.
Okay. Now, you discovered that our power agencies in Benin, we have SBDC and all that. At times, people do claim allegations that, oh, the power that was being restored came with a very high voltage.
Exactly.
Now, are you working with power agencies, you know, in order to further sensitize them on the need to exercise caution when restoring power?
Thank you very much. The same sensitization we do here right now, sometimes we have it with power organizations where we talk together. But most times we always see that wires that are already worn out, if you see an old wire, it will be breaking. The insulator is already cracked. And then the conductors will have access to each other. And sometimes these same power holdings, these same power companies will do disconnections, and people want to go and restore without their consent. And there are some who want to consume the light illegally by hanging the wires. In the process, you might bridge two power lines together, and the voltage become higher. But when it does happen, we always allege that the power companies are responsible. So I'm by this advising consumers that they should be conscious of whatever they do. And not by that saying that sometimes we don't have over voltage. When it does happen, that is why we advise we must have these avert guides to control the voltage that comes into your electrical appliances. If you have them in your television sets, in your home, it's going to make a control. It's going to control the voltage that comes into your electrical appliances. And if we do this, it will reduce the rate of fire outbreak. Okay. So we must be very, very conscious of the kind of appliances we use and how we do their installations. Okay.
Now, it's so funny to know that there are some people that probably believe that is the Harmattan period. I mean, the weather is dry, and that's it appears that you know, fire can just come up mysteriously. Is that correct?
Thank you very much.
I've actually heard somebody saying so.
I mentioned initially, fire is sometimes caused by radiation.
Radiation?
Yes. Excessive heat can char up even your door blinds. Excessive heat through the glass can char up these things. The wivon we may place on the head, when there's excessive heat, it does have a spark. So we must be very, very careful.
I don't understand. You mean the wivon have a spark?
If it's excessively heated with this period of Harmattan season, if you listen to these wivons, you have noise.
Kind of cracking?
Yes. So these are sparks that emit from these items. I always advise petrol attendants that they must try as much as possible to have a face cap to cover their wivons while dispensing fuel, because it can be a major cause of fire.
So what you're saying is that if we put our women put wivon in homes, because as a result of the heat that they can be,
we can put the net on the head to curtail that spark coming out, emitting spark, because of excessive heat. And sometimes their homes are not properly designed. We have some kitchens and the windows have excess support of oxygen. And that's why we advise that burners should not be kept in the position of the windows and curtains. A lot of people want to beautify their homes, they put curtains in their window in the kitchen. And while they are doing this cooking, they let these cooking utensils unattended to. And when the oxygen supports the original seat of that burner, the flame can go higher. And at the same time, you can got the door blinds, and then you have a major fire outbreak because it is not properly attended to. So we must try as much as possible. The word safety consciousness is the most paramount word to use, that everybody must be safety conscious. Up to artisans who works in the workshop. If you are going to wear the car that have done some mileage of kilometers, try as much as possible, allow this vehicle to isolate so that the excessive heat will die out then before you do your wedding. Because in the process of wedding, there are some things that are plastic. And then fire can result from the position of wedding. And after the wedding, allow this vehicle to isolate so that the heat will fizzle out before the vehicle goes on the normal journey. But because we are always in a hurry, we don't wait. And while you are on the highway, the excess oxygen that you are going to have is going to support the combustion. And then before the occupants of the car knows that there is a fire underneath the vehicle, it has done a lot of damage, and it goes out of control, because the canister you have in your vehicle as extinguisher might not be able to do justice to that fire outbreak. So that is why we advise, if you have a exhaust pipe that is problematic and you wet, allow you to cool down.
To cool down.
Yes, because underneath you have some combustible materials. Once it's excessively heated, they can go on fire. And then at the end of the day, the owner suffers the brunt of that outbreak. So we must be conscious of whatever we do. The people that do the haulaging, I always advise that their vehicles should be properly kept. There should be no friction in the tire systems. While a vehicle is carrying a highly flammable material and you are emitting heat, there could be problem that can result to fire.
Now, there was one that I particularly noticed.
Yes.
This happened, in my very presence. Power was restored.
Yes.
And of course, the next thing, we heard a loud bang, boom, from the AC,
Yes.
from the air conditioner, and of course, there was a fire. Now, are there ways we can know that some of these gadgets in our homes, maybe they are susceptible to explosion, to fire and all that, such as the AC, refrigerators that also have gases in them?
We always advise that we must not overload our electrical appliances or sockets. But there you have some homes. In the same socket, they put in their ACs, they put in other electrical appliances. Automatically, the socket is already overloaded, and that can cause partial contact, and then it can result to fire outbreak when there's restoration of power. So we must try as much as possible. The AC should carry the socket that is 15 amps.
No, I'm talking about the gas.
The gas
in the
inside.
AC, yeah.
The gas cannot just explode without a spark. It is not possible that the compressor will just explode without excessive heat. Yes. It is when it is heated before the gas will explode. It is equally the same when there's an outbreak of fire in a home. It will get to a stage where the compressor in the freezer will explode. There must be a source of ignition before it will degenerate to that level. There are homes where you have generators loaded with fuel, they are there. And when there's an outbreak and there's no leakage, and the fire has not got to the other point, and the fuel is not excessively heated, you meet that generator intact. There will be no fire outbreak. But when that item is excessively heated, and you want to go and refuel at the same time, let us remember the three elements of combustion: heat, fuel, and oxygen. They are already present at that material time. And once these three elements are together, there must be an outbreak of fire. So that is why we advise that any running gen should not be refilled while it is running. You must make it, isolate the gen, allow it to calm down, then you fill. And I always advise, use a funnel or a hose to fill a tank of a generator, not just pouring directly from the jerry can. I lost a friend who just came back from a journey somewhere in Benin as this. He just took the generator out, unknown to him that very close to the kitchen the wife just did frying of gari, and the fire was still there. As he was turning the fuel directly into the gen, there was an outbreak of fire, and that took his life. So we must be conscious of whatever we do. We must not pour highly flammable materials on any object that is excessively heated. That is why we say fire spread through rapid spreading, radiation, conduction, and conventionally.
Okay.
Those are the 4 ways fire spread.
All right, viewers, the program is this morning on ITV. We are, sensitizing, sensitizing, people during the Harmattan season. You do know that there's a period where we have, fire outbreak. It's so insistent, this period. Now, let's look at your response, your agency now, that's the Edo State Fire Service. Your response to some of these, should I say, civil distress calls.
Yes.
Now, the last incident we had in Benin happened sometime in June, where it was reported that there was a kerosene explosion somewhere around Upper Sokomba Road, if I'm so correct.
Kerosene explosion.
Yeah, I read that, a while ago in a piece. June. Now, yeah, sometime in June. Now, the question or the fear that people exercise is that your own agency, that's the Edo State Fire Service, at times if you people respond, you don't have your content, your fighting gadgets or whatever now, what you use to fight the fire, only for you to get there, and victims are left at their own mercy.
Thank you very much. I want to respond this way that I love criticism, but within the period, I have been serving as a functioning director.
Now, the reason why I'm saying this,
Yes.
I remember subsequently I had called you on this program and you came, and one major complaint you gave was that you people were not having enough vehicles and all that, enough tanks and all that. But now you have some vehicles on the ground. So those reports, those complaints are still coming up.
Thank you. A lot of people want to have magic. A fire that happens somewhere in Upper Sakumba and centrally located the ring road, we don't consider proximity. We don't look at the distance we are going to cover. And let us believe that that fire is not waiting for us. That is not an excuse. Let us always believe that there is a gap between the scene of occurrence and where the firemen are turning out. So why they comes there is what they meet and the level they meet that fire, they are going to curtail it. And I want to always want people to have that belief that any fireman that goes to a fire ground and there's no water content in the tank, it's like a farmer going to the farm without a cutlass, or a doctor going to a theater without the requisite tools, items he's going to use in the operation. So there's no fireman that goes to a fire ground without water.
Are you saying that it's not a possibility?
It's not a possibility. It's suicidal.
Okay, but what is it? Let us see what happened most recently.
The magnitude of fire determines the rate of water that we use to bring that the extent of.
Yeah, Mr. Agbonlahao, there was one that happened recently at Owelu Market, right? The spare part market there. I think within the premises of the First Bank. Now, it was reported that the UBTH, Uniben Fire Service came. Good. Now, they got there and there was no water, no content in their tank, so to say. The victims were almost, unleashing terror on them. So if you say that there's no fireman that will go to a scene without being prepared, are you saying that there's no possibility of some loopholes?
We rule that out if you say loopholes and the kind of loophole you are talking about. The first thing we must consider is any fireman that is going to a scene is combat ready. But what we must look at are these miscreants and at the scene of this occurrence. A lot of people were in that First Bank premises. And they always have the belief that once there's an outbreak of fire in the bank premises, you have access to.
Were you in that scene?
My men were there. I detailed them to go to that place.
Okay.
I was given that information through Chris of the Sky Bank. The wife is a staff of that same First Bank, Welu branch. So you see the closeness. So the turning out was not a problem. But let us consider the distance. But because Uniben was closer, they were able to get to the scene and they were prevented from doing their job. The miscreants will always want to have that
excuse that they prevented from doing their job?
Yes.
Why would they be prevented from doing their job?
How they prevent them is they wouldn't give them room to work. Everybody believes that firefighting is everybody's job. It's not. It's a professional job. And that is why when there's an outbreak, give room for firemen to work. And I want to use this forum to appeal to the public that firemen are not responsible for fire outbreaks. And when they come to any scene, give them room to work. All you need to do is to assist when there's need for it. And how do you assist? There could be a long line of hose that is carrying a heavy load of water. So when they are now pulling that hose in depth into where they are working, they can ask you to support in pulling them. That is when we are understaffed.
But at times, these people are not trained for...
That's it. That is why you say, help us drag the hose. They will drag. I'm not saying that we don't have real good men on fire grounds. There are some that will put their life at stake to make sure that that fire subsides. But there are miscreants who will not always want to do that. They want to make you detract you from doing your major job because they want to have access to looting. But sometimes when these situations are there and we invite other agencies that are armed, you see that the situation is calm. Nobody will come in there. And I want to use this forum to thank the Nigeria police. Each time there's an outbreak and I call for their assistance, they are always there. And once they are around, you see that the situation will be calm. There will be room for us to do justice to that fire.
Okay. Now, during fire outbreak now, what should be done first? Some say that you take some detergents, you pour it into water.
It's an improvised method.
That you can use that. What is your own professional advice? The first thing that should be done first?
Okay, when there's an outbreak in a home, in any establishment, if there's a current flowing in that building, try as much as possible to isolate the source of power.
Okay.
And once you do that, you can use any extinguishing medium.
Okay.
And that is why every household, every establishment must have a risk suppression gadget, like the fire extinguisher, like water sprinklers. Depends on what is on fire. And then you now can apply the chemical content of the group of fires that we have. We have free combustible material, carbonaceous fire, we have highly flammable, we have gas fires, we have metal fires. So that determines the extinguishing agent you are going to use to curtail that fire. But in a situation where you have the multipurpose fire extinguisher, which is the ABC, you can apply that to any class of fire, apart from the metal fire, because the chemical reaction, when you apply the DCP to a metal fire.
Okay. Can't we have an improvised...
yes, the improvised method, you were saying that the people use detergents. It does work at times, but let us look at the risk involved. In a home that is completely tiled today, and you are using detergents and the waters are sprinkled on the ground, don't you think those that are putting out the fire are victims of circumstance? They could have fracture, they could have dislocation as a result of the slippery condition. And again, what we use as chemical content to put out fire is not detergents. It is a foam concentrate that suspends the oxygen from having access to the burning substance, which is the three elements of combustion: heat, fuel, and oxygen. And this foam will smother the surface of the burning substance, and then the oxygen will not have contact. And once these three elements, one element is cut off, it becomes incombustible. The fire will not. But when you use detergents, instantly as you are putting the detergent, it will come down. In the next few seconds, the bubbles are already perforated with oxygen, and then oxygen have contact to the burning surface.
The fire goes up again?
And goes up, the fire will now reignite. Like what you have in my body today, we were using improvised chemical contents when the vehicle was defective. And when the foam compound was exhausted, ordinary water had contact with the burning substance and paved for oxygen to have contact. And then there was possible reignition. 33,000 liters of PMS, premium motor spirit. And that is what gave me this blisters you are seeing. The year 2000, April 9th.
All right.
And by this appealing to the people of Edo State, this celebrity period, we should be safety conscious. Let us look at how we use our generating sets. Our cookie utensils should be left unattended, should not be left unattended to. Then we look at our behavioral attitude, proper housekeeping. Let us not decongest our homes. With all due respect to the ladies, I want their rooms to be decongested of combustible materials, especially their dresses. They discard their dresses in any manner they want to. They won't have time to arrange them. But if you go to mess room, it's always in order. And I want to use this same forum that people should discontinue the attitude of putting a bulb inside their wardrobe, so that you can create vision to make your selection. Assuming that bulb is on and there's power failure, when there's restoration, that bulb is going to come back on. By radiation, every content in that wardrobe will go on fire when there's excessive heat. So I'm appealing to everybody, we should be safety conscious. That is my message to the public. And if you want to reach the fire services, don't have that belief that a criminal cannot do the job of a fireman. A fireman is a fireman. And you can always reach us by 080.
No, wait.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if the point is that we have to sensitize them, you know, towards. I don't want to do that.
Let us not use these vanguards indiscriminately.
Yeah.
If you use it, it's explosive. If there's any highly flammable material in the home, there's bound to be fire outbreak. We all believe now that source of power is not regular, and every household is always having a content of highly flammable material.
Okay.
And then once these things are displayed indiscriminately, there's bound to be fire outbreak.
Okay.
Celebration becomes what? Sorrow.
Okay. Now, the truth of the matter is that the Edo State Fire Service is one place that people know. I think people know how to reach you. Let's just leave it there. Let's leave it there.
If they know how to reach us, not everybody have access to the fire services.
Now, of course,
we have two ways of making a call to the fire service. It's either by telephone or running call. And then, at that material time, a lot of people till tomorrow don't have the emergency line of the fire services in their phones. And that is why each
But
and every time
emergency lines in this country, are they working?
they work.
Your own emergency line
Yes.
is working?
If you call my line as we are speaking now, you are going to have a response. When we finish this program, call the line I was trying to call.
If I call it right here
Right
on,
now.
on the program,
Yes,
you may
it's going to
go.
work. Yes.
Are you sure?
Call right away.
It will go.
It will be a conviction to the
Should I
public.
call it?
Call them
All
as
right,
quickly as
let's
possible.
put it to test. Let's just put it to test. So let me have your emergency line.
080
All right, 080
2490
2490
4706.
4706. All right, let me just put a call across and see if it will work, because emergency response in Nigeria is one big issue that you know it's so troublesome. All right, let's see. Just, all right. So,
That's network.
it's not. That's not network. That's not network. I mean, it's an emergency line.
Yes.
So it should respond.
Yes.
It should respond. So it means it's not even on.
If-
I just tried it.
Yes.
I just tried it, Mr. Agbonlahor.
So the line is not on.
It's not on. So it's an
Let
issue.
us try another one.
Okay. Can we try another one?
9218 00
What's the number? 080
9218
9. Just hold on. 9218.
9656.
9.
But did you call the first number correctly?
I did. This one you are giving is 08092189656. Let's see how you can respond to emergency situation. Outgoing at call. It's not on.
So we can confirm it's not on.
It's not on. I mean, I just
So
called.
try again later. It's not
No,
very good, it's
we're
not
talking
on.
about emergency situation.
Yes.
If
Yes,
I'm
my phone.
distressed now, if I'm
Yes.
distressed now, Mr. Agbonlahor,
Yes.
I'm
And you
distressed
call, it's
now,
not
and I
going. You keep on trying.
call. No.
And then you do
in a
only call.
distress situation.
Yes, you call the Nigerian police that is very much close to the
On a more serious
If you
note,
call
I
the Nigeria Police Control Room, they can do a running call for you.
okay, they can do the
Yes.
call.
If you call the Nigeria Police Control Room, they can mandate Oba Market immediately. They dash into my office.
But I think you should work on your emergency line.
It's not
You
the
should
emergency
work-
line is the same issue as every other line we have. In
All
this
right, so
country.
as we leave this discussion today, what is your last advice to viewers out there?
I have said we should try as much as possible to have risk suppression gadgets like fire extinguishers in our homes. Then we must have reasonably plentiful of water. When there is an outbreak of fire, please have a communal effort before the arrival of the fire services.
Okay.
Be safety conscious.
Okay.
Look at the items you use in your home. And lastly, please don't use your generation set in a confined environment where there will be emission of carbon monoxide.
Okay.
On the inhalation, there's going to be an asphyxiation.
Okay.
And once there's asphyxiation, it leads to death instantly before the fire will come and consume.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr.
Yes.
Franklin Agbonlahor. He's the State
Thank you.
Director of
Thank
Edo
you.
State Fire Service, and you've heard it from him that we really have to be very, very careful, because the Harmattan season, it's good. It's good. It's good. I like the cold
Yes.
weather and all that, but except the fact that attendance inmates here and there.
That's
I'm already under
That's
the
true,
weather,
that's true.
cough, catarrh, and cold. But most importantly, we really have to be very, very watchful with the way we
Our
play with
behavioral
fire,
attitude,
our
yes.
behavioral attitude this period. Thank you so much, Mr.
God bless you,
Agbonlahor.
Mr. Evans.